your artwork has a certain kind of signatures. For example, the moving chairs, the mohairs, and collars. Can you explain about the inspiration about these styles?
Well, for example, as I told you, in the 90s, I made these video works, I turned videos where we film each other. So you see everything. Everybody has a camera. The one who films the one who films the one sees the one with the camera. And we moved through a castle. It's one film. It's called Galerande. In 2004, there's a castle in France from an American decorator whom I met through Architectural Digest. Everything is linked, it's not, if you look at it well, everything is somehow linked. And he lent me his castle and we went with a crew and filmed each other. So we had 9 people, 9 cameras. Normally, if you don't have too much budget for a film and you don't have the rails, you use the wheelchairs to move the camera. And it was all about this kind of movement, to do this kind of movement through the whole castle. And so I thought, I love chairs, and I picked up many chairs on the streets in Paris. And I thought I will do my own chairs. So I made these chairs for traveling shots. And then they became very important protagonists in the film. And then I thought, okay, these chairs need 2 people. You push each other through space. It's a traveling chair to travel. And it could be nice also to use them to move through museums or spaces, exhibition spaces. You are in a very different mood because you're in slight movement and you are slightly higher. And that's really the story of the traveling chair, for example. That's how the traveling chair began. And then the rolling stool is a kind of declination. They are not to be moved around, but it's like a next step from the traveling chair. And the mohair is really, I didn't draw, I never drew, but actually today I do. But at the time I thought it also on silk paper. This kind of, I do with the feutre, with the, what's the thing? The water-resistant permanent marker.
What made you decide on using that?
Because I draw on silk, also on this semi-transparent silk paper, like the prints I do, for the archive box for Margiela. And so I like it because it's a little wet, so it moves a little bit the paper. You can see it on the semi-transparent paper. It's not a thick paper, so you see it also well, and I can use different colors, and so I decided for those. But to come back to the mohair, at the time I thought I don't draw, but I would like to make drawings and writings, because I write also, and I wrote also my text for my videos, and I thought I could do words, and the mohair thread is a little bit like a nervous thread of drawing, It was for me making drawings. I had the mohair, and then I began to wrap also object, because it was also a way that from the drawing it went to the object, so that I went from the drawing to the sculpture in a certain sense, to the object.
Interesting. What about the collage work? I saw your interview video for your solo exhibition. Title is In Rare Cases, Local Hero with Pompadour. And you mentioned the influence of children as perfect being. Could you tell us about the story?
I was invited in Vienna to a brunch, and there was Anna. I think she was 4 years old. There's this American children blog. Today, digitally, it exists, of course, also, which is called Fashion Faces. You have these women with very plain faces. You just have 2 points for the nose. You have different hair. You use different hair colors and different skin colors. And at the end, you have sticker pads, lips and sunglasses. And you're supposed to do this very perfect Barbie kind like of being. And this Anna, children can be, they can be extremely creative, but at the same time they are impatient and they have rage, and they just, they have no respect for the stuff. So she took stuff and she put it and she ripped paper and everything, and she showed this to me. And I thought this was a total masterpiece, Actually, she gave it to me also. And that was I said, I have to get that game. I want to try to make something like that. So I ordered these blocks, and I began to work with it. And then, of course, it developed, But that's how it really began. There's very often for my works, I like a basic, some kind of moment.
It's such a cute story. So you're now working on your 3rd exhibition at Gianni Manhattan in Vienna.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the title is In Reverse. Could you share us the image or concept?
We had the second show was also with the ambulance, the chandelier works I'm doing now. And at the time, we had shown these miniature works that I told you about, the gestures I made, when I photographed with the miniatures. And we showed vintage prints of the miniatures. It was a very nice show, actually. I mean, she has a great space also. And so we combined these very small photos with these very massive chandelier works. And it was called autonomous gestures. Photographs are gestures, and you make a gesture to move the ambulance. They're autonomous. So there was this whole link between the photography and in the title and the ambulance. They are called them ambulance, the chandelier works. For this show, I showed new works, new chandelier works, but they're different, at least partly. So it's the same work, but it's not the same work. It's the same subject, but it's not the same subject. It's a different new group inside the subject. And then we had the idea to show also photography again. I thought, well, let's try some things. And finally, I chose aquarelle paper, not photography paper. The silk paper is also not paper for printing photography. It's a paper for protecting drawings, or it's a paper for wrapping, It's not, but it's a nice paper. It's very resistant to light and everything. My companion, Nicolas, he works with aquarelle paper, and it's a little yellow. And it's the same like very nice Hahnemühle photo papers, but it's a little different. And they have different formats. So I thought I'd get away from the photo. I like the idea to not be into the photo world. I have other formats and another type of paper. And it's aquarelle papers drag out, because I have this incredible archive of many, many photos that I never have shown. Images I never would have chosen beforehand, Chose these photos, and I will print them on this like 70 to 100. It's not very big, but it's a different format. And then we also show a video. She likes my video works very much, the gallery, Laura, and we show a video that I made in the 90s. I think it's the end of the 90s. It's called Time Keeps Me Young, but It Can't Heal My Heart. And it's based on a performative thing of mine. I'm always protagonist in my videos. You don't recognize me, but inside. And it's a kind of performative actions. And I say a text on it. And so we show these three things. And so but it picks up things from the past. At the same time, it's also things of the future, because new things that were never shown. And at the same time, the photography is from the archive, from the 70s, even and the 80s, but they are shown now. So it's a kind of in reverse, meaning again, but against the time, with the time, reversing things, showing them again in a different way. I don't know if this is an explanation, but that's how we got to the title.
Sounds very exciting. So aside from your solo works, as you mentioned, you have worked on collaborative works in the past. Is there any artists, creator, fashion designers you want to collaborate with in the future?
I mean, if somebody would invite me with whom it makes sense, there's a specific reason. It could be a challenge and interesting, of course. But basically, Margiela, it was not because of fashion, it was because of Margiela, It was an encounter with a specific personality, with a specific aesthetics, with specific choices. So it would need something very special that this would happen. But I was invited, and this was a very nice experience. I was invited twice by MM6 today. They invited me to make backstage, and they are the most faithful to Margiela, and it was really very nice to do that. But that's of course in the heritage, how do you say, of Martin Margiela. But this I did, and I worked again with Martin for the show in Antwerp, and he had the show at Momo. He made a film, for the show. We worked he made the films. I mean, he really curated the show at Momo, his show. I don't know what year that was. And I was back there also, and we worked again, which was very funny. Did I answer the question? I don't know.
That was great. So I'm sure like Martin Margiela must be the biggest inspiration for you, but I wonder if there's any other designers you're interested in, like at this moment.
Designers,
or how do you see the fashion industry right now as artists and creators who have seen the industry for a long time?
Actually, what I would like to say, because I'm not so much into the fashion world today, I'm not observing it so closely. I think that it became a very special world where it became so overly commercial, It's difficult to say something in the way you're asking me. But somebody who I really liked very much, but that's already also the past, but she does now again things, but was Phoebe Philo for Celine. I found that she was also, you could see that she liked Margiela's work, but she had just such a great way to rethink it and to show her inspiration imagination and to make something very personal with it. I liked her work very much, for example. But today, it's very difficult. I know a little bit, for example, here in Vienna, the work, somehow my attention was drawn to it. He's professor here in Vienna. It's Craig Green. Don't know if you know Craig Green. He's professor here. I mean, it's not a fashion that I would wear or that moves me in my deep, personal, intimate way. But I think that he's quite bold and he's close to sculpture in a certain way also. He's quite interesting, an interesting guy in his way. But I would really need to study it in a closer way. What I wanted to say, that what I forgot is that I continue to look at the fashion shows at the Academy of Fashion here in Vienna, because my friend is working there. And so I look at things everywhere also. I mean, of course, I see things. I'm not interested specifically, but I see a lot of stuff. And there's not one single thing today that has not under the impact of Martin Margiela. It's everywhere. So what I wanted to say just is that he really had an impact on the whole fashion industry until today. It's really everywhere. And this is really incredible. People don't even know it anymore. Even the students, they don't know that they are doing Margiela, but it's everywhere. Yeah, that's really impresses me each time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. So first of all, where you live, Vienna, how do you split your time in Vienna or any other cities what is Vienna like? I've never been, but like it must be beautiful. What is Vienna?
You have to come over to see. But Vienna is a kind of, it becomes more and more cosmopolitan, but it's a small, compact town with a big tradition, but also with a big tradition of progressive, interesting, like underground type, also minded art. They take it really seriously. Art can be a little frivol in certain parts of this planet. In Vienna, there's a real commitment to art, and I like that very much. It's a small town. We have an incredibly spoiled life here because there's not much poverty yet. It's very calm. It's a little provincial, but it has also an international dimension. It's a mixed, It's a good place to work because it's calm. There are too many tourists. It's a little bit becoming like Venice.
It must be like a beautiful city.
I mean, it's really too beautiful. It's a little bit like a theater decoration, but it is beautiful. It's just really very nice. It has incredible architecture tradition from the 18th, 19th century, 20th century. There's a lot to see. And all these movements they had in art and in architecture and in music, everything is very present. So there's a kind of old-fashioned life still here where people go to the cafe, they take their time, they read the newspaper. It still exists here. It's like from another planet, Then, of course, you have the contemporary and the younger people and aggressive in many fields, So it's a kind of interesting place, Austria in general.
Also, it's a place for classical music too.
Yes, totally.
You mentioned your interest to younger designers like Craig Green, but when it comes to talking about Vienna, we can't ignore talking about one and only Helmut Lang.
You said about Helmut Lang. He also, like Martin, he also worked really with his culture, where he came from, And if you look today at the things he does, there's something very clear about Belgium kind of culture, The big achievement of Helmut Lang was how he took. Also, I found actually regretful that he left Vienna, that he didn't keep at least a base here. He could live in America, but keep a base in Vienna, because he really worked also around a certain type Austrian taste and culture that is quite linked to also the 60s, the 70s, certain types of costumes for men and materials that he, of course, then declined and found new materials. He had also this wonderful capacity to reinvent from these things, cultural memories, his collections. And they were also very linked to his origins. And they became international, they came universal. And it's wonderful if you can part from your origins that are very specific, and then you can become universal with that. Not to be global, be where you come from, and then make it universal. That's a nice way. And that Helmut Lang also, I find, achieved that.
So the last question, after a long time working in fashion, art, photography scene, and creating amazing works, how do you see yourself in the next 10 years? What is your vision? It's a cliche.
I hope I will live to the next 10 years, mostly. I have projects, I have a new project now I'm very excited about. I also would like to work a little bit on books, make a few books For the moment, the concept is to pick a year and to take things that happened in that year and then put them together in a book. Like it's a little bit like also a self-portrait, like a chronology, you know. This I would like to be able to make. I mean, there are always many things in the head, but you don't know how much you can do, really, how much time you have, etc., etc. I hope I live long enough to make many, many more things, mostly.
Please live long so that I can meet you in person in the future. ということで本日はマリーナ・ファウストさんにお越しいただきました。ラ・ミュージアムのエキシビションはお手持ちのスマートフォンやパソコンのアプリからお楽しみいただけます。詳細は概要欄に記載してありますので、ぜひチェックしてみてください。そしてこの動画が面白いと思ったらチャンネル登録、そして高評価よろしくお願いします。ではまた次の動画で。